I've started recording now, just FYI.
Okay.
Can you check I've done it properly? Can you imagine? Recorded the whole episode and then,
You haven't done your other task.
oh, to make sure we don't talk for 2 hours.
When you're in charge. The longest one so far is like 1 hour 6 or something.
So, yeah. Hi, Steph. How's it going?
Hi, Ali.
It's been a minute.
It has. I think it's been like over a month.
I mean,
since
not
we
for
recorded.
us.
Not for us. It's been. It needs to be a minute for us.
We are sick of each other.
Oversaturation. I think it's been like a month since we recorded. A month plus, maybe. But we just settle right back into our whole.
Straight back into the groove. How are you? How's your day been?
My day's been very good. Productive. I'm wearing shorts, Ali.
I am like, you don't know how proud I am of this woman because she has a tendency to continue to wear jogging bottoms, academy pants, jeans.
Mainly jeans, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're having a little bit of a mini heat wave. An Indian summer, I think they call it, when it gets hot here in September.
Yes.
I don't really know what that means. But yeah, so it's really warm is what I'm trying to say. But Steph has worn shorts. I'm proud of you.
I've worn shorts. I don't know what it is. It's some unresolved body issue I have.
Okay. Do you want to reflect on that?
I don't think it's the time to probe it.
We'll do that next season.
That's as far as I've got with it. So it was a big deal for me to wear shorts, but I've done it.
I'm genuinely proud of you. I've worn my favourite new t-shirt.
You know what I like about it? You've also worn you can
zoom in on that,
your A necklace, and it looks like Mary's just spitting an A.
This is probably my favourite necklace as well. I got this in New York with my friend Simone when we went for our 30th birthdays.
Last year. But doesn't it look like Mary's spitting it?
Yeah.
That is cool. How was your day?
It was all right, thanks. Pretty chill, work from home.
Every time, Ali.
No. I distinctly remember listening to one episode recently where I was in the office and I told a really inappropriate... Well, you wanted me to tell a really inappropriate story about some guy that I fancied in my office.
1 in 8. I didn't.
Yeah, you were like, why don't you start with this? And then this episode starts with me going, no, that's not appropriate. But yeah, so this is the final episode of this season. We are quite hopeful that we will get a second season.
We are, and maybe more.
Oh,
do you just want to do?
Oh. Yeah. Oh no, I would love to. Let's see how.
Yeah, we'll go season by season.
Also, people need to want to listen to us. Like as much as we have enjoyed it. Actually, we have had some amazing feedback, haven't we? Thank you so much to everyone who leaves comments and emails us and messages us. We genuinely appreciate it.
Or speaks to us in person.
Yeah, who fangirls us.
But
genuinely, because I think particularly when you're recording a podcast, because it isn't live, obviously, it does just feel like you're just talking into the abyss.
Yeah, and we do reflect on it a bit, don't we? And about how maybe it's coming across. And I can tell you how I think you're coming across. You can tell me how you think I'm coming across, but we're both in the room together, so a different perspective is important.
Yeah. So genuine thanks to everyone that's let us know what they think.
Yeah, please do. Please keep letting us know the good and the bad stuff. It's really important.
And this final episode, we thought would be a good opportunity to talk about reflections, to look back, because you can only connect the dots going backwards. You can't connect the dot.
You know what else you can
going forwards. We're also trying to practice one of our reflections.
I'm
trying not to fall off the chair.
I've got one. I've got a dodgy chair. Carry on.
One of our reflections is that we realise we talk over each other a lot, and it's not because we aren't interested in what the other say.
No, we have questioned that.
It's because we're so excited, because I think we vibe and we agree with each other, and then even when we don't agree, like we're very passionate about what we speak about, aren't we? And so we do two things. We talk over each other and we also don't finish our sentences. which I can imagine for the listener is probably a little bit irritating at times, because it's like, hang on, that sounded like it was going to be a really interesting point, and I don't know where it ends because she never finished the sentence.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to try and correct that from this point forth.
It's because we try and tell 4 stories in one story, or in your case, 20 stories in one story.
Welcome to my brain.
Yeah, that's what it is. A good illustration of our brains. But I was going to say the only other thing you can do backwards is put cones in a straight line.
Right. Great shout.
Thank you.
I still don't know that I've mastered doing straight cones. I think I've got it about as good as I'm ever going to get it.
Yeah, there's a point of like, unless you want to stand around and practice in your garden, you're just going to have to accept it. That's what I've got to.
Also, like, don't overcone.
Oh.
It's too much, man. It's busy. It's confusing for the players. It's time consuming for you. It's just unnecessary. Depending on your age group, every 10 yards is probably about enough. But if you've got Diddy, really little children that you're coaching, Diddy.
I think you say the Diddy cones. Have you seen them?
Oh, yeah.
They're cute, aren't they? The little triangles.
Then you might need to put them slightly close, maybe 5 yards or something, every 5 yards or something like that. But when you just see them almost like every step, that's too much.
You mean like if you're
marking out the pitch or something?
Okay.
Yeah. But even when you're even within that space, so you've marked out like the perimeter of that area, but even within that space, when there's so many cones, it's confusing.
Mm. I've seen some really cool stuff where people have thought about their cone use through the session as it progresses, and then they just have to like take 2 out, drop 2, and then it transforms.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great planning. That's great
really
planning where you don't waste time, basically.
Exactly.
But this episode is about reflections. So it's about coaches, how do we reflect on what's been and gone? And I think for me, the really important part of reflection is, how do you make it meaningful? So how do you allow it to positively impact your next coaching session or your next match day, or whatever it is that you've reflected on? Don't just write your notes or do your voice notes or however, because there's lots of ways to capture reflection. Don't just do that and then let it sit somewhere, never to be used. I think it's important that you make reflections actionable. That would be my top tip.
You got there quickly.
Yeah.
Is that what you would say is why you should reflect?
Yeah, because it's to improve, isn't it? That's why we reflect, is to improve. And so if you're just going to reflect on what you did and then not do anything with those reflections, I'm not sure what the point is.
Mm.
So if you can capture your reflections, as I say, in whatever way is best for you, and then create some actions, and it doesn't have to be loads, 1, 2, 3, whatever, but create some actions out of those reflections and sort of task yourself to implement them at the next sort of appropriate opportunity. Perfect.
But what is your process of reflection then? My
process of reflection would have been, I would do a reflection almost immediately, because I'd need to that's probably quite an emotional reflection where I'd have to get my feels out about it. So if it had gone particularly badly, like a training session, for example, and I felt uncomfortable about it, I'd need to be like, ugh. Like even just talking to myself in the car on the way home, I'd sort of be like, oh my God, when I did that was really cringe, or that totally didn't work, or that pitch size was wrong, or what, like all the negativity I'd have to get out immediately to get it out. And then as I developed as a coach and as a person, as I developed my confidence as a person and as a coach, I got a lot better at being able to identify what I also did well. Because I think that's quite a feminine trait as well, to just be like, oh, I did these things and they were all awful. And yet you've done all these amazing things that far outweigh any of the mistakes or not so good stuff that you think you might have done. But you've dismissed all of that good stuff because you've done like 1 or 2 so-called bad things. So I got a lot better at being like, actually, I also did this and that was great. And then I think that allowed me to balance out my emotions. And then I tended to coach in the evening. So I'd probably then just sleep on it I think that's always a good thing to do in life in general. And then the next day, that's when I'd probably capture those reflections, write them down. I'm old school. I'm like pen and paper. But I know a lot of people find it easy to voice note, to do things on like iPads or whatever. That's why I say whatever way works for you. But I would just literally write them down and then try to create actions out of them. So like that cone thing that you've just talked about, that could be an example of where, say it all got a bit confused, say your players got confused because of the cones, like you can reflect on that, and then your next session you can try and use less cones, or make sure your cones are all out so you don't have to keep picking them up and putting them down and moving them around, and you know that it's all set before the practice starts. That's actioning a reflection. But I didn't start coaching like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's me 9 years into it, like feeling, which I appreciate some people listening, that's not a long time either. Like there's people that have been coaching for like 20, 30 years or more. But I guess for the newer coaches, I don't want them to feel like, whoa. Like I didn't start. Early on in my coaching, I would have only listed all the things I thought I did that were rubbish. I would have felt really bad about it. And then I would have just tried to forget about it.
It's also difficult early on to know what you're even reflecting on, or to know like what is good and what is bad. I feel like for the first, I don't know, I shouldn't really generalize it, but for the first year or whatever, how are you meant to know what to even reflect on unless you've got really good guidance and support around that?
I think that's a great point, because I say to people all the time, what does good look like? Because it's quite easy to identify what bad looks like. But what does good practice look like? And I think that's a challenge for a lot of people, even people working at the elite end of the game. So I think that is a work in progress for all coaches. What does good look like? And also I think it's important that reflection, when you reflect, in the same way that you plan using the 4-corner model, you should reflect using the 4-corner model as well. Like don't just reflect on the technical, tactical aspects of that practice session. Reflect on what were your conversations like with the players before, during, after? What were those interactions like? What, like, was it physically demanding enough? How did the players interact with each other? Remember to bring in all of it. What do you do? How do you reflect?
I have to admit, just because I feel like a lot of people be in the same boat, it's always it's the first thing to go for me when I'm busy. Which is bad. Like it shouldn't be like that.
But it's real life as well.
It is real life, and realistically, if you want to put your time towards something, it's probably going to be towards planning. But I did.
So I'm just trying to undo my bottle quietly. But Steph's drawn attention to it now, so I'll just go for it. Cheers.
There's a camera, Ellie. What is it? Just water?
It's Robinson's. Other brands are available.
Orange?
Orange and mango.
Good one.
Sensations or whatever it's called.
It's like
not just standard
flatter bottle with the longer thing.
It's not just bog standard squash. This is the elite stuff.
We're both really into Robinson's. If anyone's listening from Robinson's,
yeah, if you'd like to sponsor us, you can connect with us at aliandsteph.
loverobinsons.com. I think I go through a bottle every 2 days. That's a lot, isn't it?
I mean, we can talk about addiction. That's another pod.
I do the car thing. I think it's just really helpful on the journey home to use that.
It's the journey.
Oh, no.
Ching. And also, I've just said it, taking the mick out of you.
Well, you knew what you were getting into. I think it's really good to use the trip home to reflect and then to park it.
Oh,
because
for our metaphor here.
What could I say?
Reverse parallel.
Yeah, because you don't want to. The worst thing is like when especially if you're coaching late at night. So some of my sessions will finish like 8:30, 9, get home at like 9:30, 10, and then you're like getting into bed with that stuff.
Don't get into bed with your
all
reflection.
all these phrases. I'm just nailing it. It's not good. Like, you need to put it somewhere and shelve it for a bit. And some guy, his name's Wayne, and I can't remember his name, told me the 10-minute, 10-hour, 10-day rule, which I don't think I've said on here, even though you think I might have. So
say it anyway.
If I'm repeating, so it's 10 minutes essentially is reflecting straight after the piece, which, as you say, is usually pretty skewed. And I think it's like the human brain, for every one positive thought it holds on to 4 negative ones.
Thanks, brain.
So it's, yeah, exactly. So it's like in our makeup. 10 hours later, you then reflect. So that's your thing about like speaking on it. And then 10 days later is meant to be next session. Then you can like put it into practice. And you have to like actively be really strict about that, because I would find myself just reflecting all the time if I didn't tell myself to actually, because that's just the way my brain is. It'll just constantly go over things if I just don't tell myself to do that. But yeah, I try and reflect on all of the 4 corners. Like you said, I'll do things like I'll track a lot of stuff, like who I spoke to in the session, so I can make sure that I'm trying to like speak to people equally and check in with people and things like that.
Yeah. I think another really useful, sometimes when I have a brainwave, you can see it in my eyes.
You can see her eyes just like got me.
And then Steph draws attention to it, which is fine.
Sorry.
And then I forget. Something that I think is also an important part of reflecting, is to not necessarily do it in isolation.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that process can be in isolation, and probably maybe should be in isolation so you can get all your emotion out. But then, especially if you coach with someone else, you should reflect together. But even if you don't coach with someone else, invite someone to come and watch you coach, not in a like really scary way, but I mean, for safeguarding reasons, I think there should always be another coach present anyway. So there's usually always someone around, and ask them about their thoughts and their reflections on your coaching, because I think that helps balance it out as well. Because I think we are always harsher on ourselves than anyone else is. Even in the sense that even if it is awful, because let's be honest, there's always like car crash sessions where you're like, no, that just genuinely was bad. Like I had an interview at Brighton, and so it's probably the worst I've ever coached in my life. I didn't get the job, listeners. Shock. But where was I going with this?
How bad it was?
Yeah. But I think so even if it is bad, other people will still help you critique it in a kind and compassionate and constructive way. Whereas your brain is just like, one's brain is just like, it was awful. Why did you ever pretend you were a coach? And so I think, yeah, it's useful to get other people's perspective, to get you out of your own head, but also because they will see things that you hadn't thought of.
I think the thing you said about emotion, I think is really important, because it's not like the act of reflecting on something you've done is not like, oh, yay. Like it's a bit uncomfortable and it's a bit difficult, and you've actually got to look at yourself in a different light. And like, that's not always fun. So I think we should recognize that it does come with a lot of emotion. But I agree that some people might help you reflect in a compassionate way. Some people might not. Like,
like I did actually, as I was saying it, I was thinking of some people that I was like, they weren't compassionate.
Yeah, but like, choose who you are going to reflect with or going to listen to. Or if you are coaching with someone and maybe they don't present it in the way that works for you, maybe you need to have a conversation about, this is how I would like to receive feedback. This is what works for me. And be really honest about that. And I think in our reflections on some of the stuff that we've done, we've reflected on like how I like to receive feedback, how you like to receive feedback, like how we want to talk to each other about this. And that's been so helpful. And I think that's important
Yeah,
to do, and you've got to work with the other person to get that right.
definitely. And I think a good rule of thumb, if you wouldn't value advice from someone, don't value their criticism either.
No.
Bitches! Because
oh my God, the number of times I've heard that.
why are you screaming down the mic?
Sorry.
It probably won't be that loud because that mic is rubbish.
I'll turn me down and I'll turn bitches up.
Bitches!
Oh, just constant.
But legit, right? Like, there were some people where I'm like, thanks for participating in my life, but I didn't invite you, so bye. Like, there are just some people who they've got lots of thoughts and feelings about stuff, but it doesn't mean they're right. And it doesn't mean it's going to help you. Yeah, so that's my main... that's kind of, I think those are my key things about reflecting. There'll be loads of other stuff, and equally, as ever, like, let us know how you reflect and what journey you have been on with that, because I think you do learn to build it in. And I think you're absolutely right, Steph, when you say that it's hard, like it's an uncomfortable process. And I think that's why so many coaches neglect it, because it's the easy thing to forget about, because it's quite spiky as well. So it's like, oh no, well, I've just got to focus on planning the next session. But actually, if you can reflect, it will enhance your planning and it will improve you as a coach.
Just before we move on, another couple of things is, one is like the video. Oh, frogs in my throat. Your frog from up too. Video reflection, because I think I've spoken about the times I've been videoed and I was my GoPro. I was clueless. Like, it just wasn't how I was. It's
eye-opening.
It's really eye-opening. And if it's not a video, you can do things like get people to record the time you're speaking for, so you get an idea of actually how long you're talking to players and stuff. And then the other one is player feedback, which I think is you can do it in really simple ways. So I've seen people do like a red cone, green cone, yellow cone. They drop the cone or they walk through a certain gate as they go out to just have like a little...
What? Oh, like the honesty of that though.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to this. Or you can do like more in-depth stuff with... I actually gave my players a basically just like a carte blanche of what do you think of me. And I got some really good... I got shouted us more on it.
You got what?
Steph should shout at us more.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which,
I thought you said shouted or small. And I was like, what?
Shout at us more. Which leads me to saying, I think it's really important that feedback and reflection is this multi-pronged approach, because the players will have their reflections, but they might be coming from a space of what they think they're meant to say, or what they've experienced before, or what they think coaching's meant to be like. You're going to have yours, and that's going to be clouded by what you felt like in the moment. Someone else is going to be clouded by what they are. So I feel like if you can merge all of that.
Yeah, I think when you involve players, it's really important to check for understanding, because especially if they're young players, but actually even adult players as well. Because, and obviously taking into account that every coach, well, hopefully, knows their players better than anyone else would anyway. But even so, Steph should shout at us more could mean a few different things in my mind. So it's important to clarify what your players mean by their statements.
I did actually clarify that. If you wanna.
What did they mean? Just like, fuck off!
They meant, interestingly, going back to our match day thing, they wanted me to tell them what to do more on match days.
So they meant command.
Yeah.
Which brings us back, do you remember? Like, because let's just reflect on this pod now. It is seamless. We don't even practice this shit. Maybe we should. There's a reflection. That was similar to when... Sorry, what was your point? Because me making a joke, I've forgotten my point. What did you just say?
I said that what the players wanted was for me to direct them.
Yeah, command style. Yeah. So do you remember we talked in a previous episode about coaching behaviours and how you said that you rely quite heavily on Q&A, and that's them saying, but actually sometimes we just want to be told, and we need to be told. And that is true of every single player at any level of the game. There are times when players need and want to be told.
Yeah.
So that's really useful. Yeah.
I did have a conversation with them though about this is why I'm not doing it on match day, but I can do it more in a training context if that's helpful for you. But it just opened up a conversation as much as anything. I suppose.
It was great stuff.
Yeah. Should we talk about I feel like we should do like a little transition movement.
Maybe not the sound.
I got into this weird habit just today.
Yeah, I know, because I've had voice notes from you that are disturbing.
I'm just doing weird sounds.
Bear with us, listeners.
I don't know what it is. Right, let's do the transition. 3, 2, 1.
Everyone's like, what the hell? In the edit, I can put a sound on that. That's not you going.
Oh, stop. I'm talking to myself.
Yeah, so reflections on the actual pod itself. What do you tell me? Tell me one thing that went as you predicted, and one thing that really I've put her on the spot and she's terrified. Like basically one thing that went, how you wanted it to go, and one thing that you were like, oh, and it might have surprised you in a good way or it might have surprised you in a bad way. I'll think as well, because I've literally just thought of that question now, so I haven't prepped that.
Oh, one thing that I thought, just get ready for more sounds while I
Shall I go? Because I've thought of one. I knew that we would gel.
That's gonna be mine.
That's okay. We can agree because we gel. What? No, stop being weird. We gel to a point. I have my limit. No, but I like one of the bits of feedback, reflection from the listeners that we have had is how it's basically like two mates having a chat and they're just invited into it. And that is absolutely the tone that we wanted with this podcast. And I think we nailed it.
I think we did. Yeah. I think I knew that would happen. I knew we'd have stuff we wouldn't have problem filling time. Maybe something, because when we were kind of like in the ideation phase. We were talking about like structure and should we have this and should we have this, and at one point we had like a full structure, didn't we? And then we were like, let's kind of just roll with it. And I didn't know if that would, as much as I knew we would gel, I didn't know if that would actually work in a sense.
Yeah,
but I think it has.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, tell us if you think we need to be a bit more structured. Like we do know sometimes we do go a bit too far at the start.
I saw a meme the other day and it was like podcasters like 40 minutes into an episode, like, right, so let's get into this now. And I was like, oh my God, that is us.
That is us. There's been a couple of like particularly bad ones, isn't there?
Yeah. Jibber jabber.
Absolute jibber jabber.
But it is a tricky balance as well, though, because it's part of that jibber jabber that invites you, the listener, into our world and on this journey with us. And I think if you don't have that at the beginning, they don't get a sense for who we are as people, because we never wanted to sit here and go, this is how I plan a session. Step 1. Like dry. All of that stuff is out there. Men have been boring us for years with podcasts like that. Yeah, I said it. And we wanted to bring something different. So this is our USP. No one else can deliver this because no one else is you and me. So I quite like our jibber jabber, but I do think maybe sometimes.
Yeah, I think we're just not any different to what we are when we're not recording.
Yeah, what you see is what you get. This is raw. I mean, maybe we just need to get better at editing it. Because we tend to just leave it all out there.
That's a good point as well. That's the way we decided to do it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've done very minimal.
Have we had anyone, because you're a bit more on top of the reviews that we've had, and I know you've shared probably all of them with me, but have we had anyone that's been like, oh, these two just don't shut up, or...
Yeah, my uncle.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Unc.
Yeah, I thought I told you about that.
Yeah, you did.
At the family party.
Forgotten.
Yeah, my uncle, but bar that. We've had like, you guys do... Guys? Oh, dear.
Guys and gals.
You do ramble, but I like it. Oh, you do.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Let us know, as ever. And when I say let us know, I genuinely mean let us know.
But there are certain parts of ourselves we cannot change.
And wouldn't want to.
Don't mess with perfection.
One of the things that I kind of learnt about myself that I didn't appreciate is what is going on with my hands.
Yeah, we're going to make a little...
Like I was doing it just then. I've got this weird thing.
Yeah, but stop.
It's creepy AF. I don't know why I do it. It must be, I mean, as we've discussed on the previous episode, I do have anxiety. And I think it's like almost like a little tick type
It's like
thing.
a self-soothing, maybe.
Yeah. There's something, no, I know that's a legit expression, but there's something about it that creeps me out a bit. And that's probably just my mind. Yeah, so I've never watched myself on camera this much. You'll be shocked to know. And I think I just, picked up that I've got a lot of little habits that are a bit weird. But I stand by the fact that we are all weird.
We are. And there's an episode where I have my hair like this and I'm just pulling at it.
Is that self-soothing or self-sabotage?
I'm obviously like, it needs to be tighter, but I'm here. It's just the worst angle for it. Ali.
Steph.
What do you think your favourite episode is that we've done?
I think probably the mental health episode, which hasn't, at the time of recording this, you listeners have not heard the mental health episode yet. So we don't have your feedback on that yet. But it is the episode that I'm most proud of both of us for, because we were both so vulnerable on it. And I think it's really powerful as a result. But I also think we genuinely give really good advice. And if I would say to people, if they were only going to listen to one episode of the whole pod, to listen to that one, because I still think, even though it's quite a serious subject matter, I still think you get our essence, you get us like messing about and being our true selves. You get some real vulnerability, which I think, unfortunately, lots of people will be able to relate with and connect to. And the reason I say unfortunately is because we describe some things that aren't that nice. But I think a lot of us will share similar experiences. And so you get the vulnerability, you get the connection with the community as a result of that. At least I hope so. But you also get, like genuinely good advice, not just about mental health, but like how your responsibility as a coach around that, how it impacts you as a coach, how it impacts your players, all of that. And I just feel like we hit all of our key touch points really on what we want to achieve with this pod in that episode. So if anyone was only going to listen to one, I'd want them to listen to that one because I think it's an important one. And I feel quite vulnerable and quite nervous about that episode when it is released. But I really hope people give us feedback on it because it'd be useful to know. How about you?
That one as well. I was going to say that I really like the parents one because another of our reflections has been about the balance between us.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think over the season it's balanced out.
As in how much we speak?
Yeah, how much we speak. And we've spoken before about how maybe we fell into more like me of an interviewer role. And that's kind of, I think some episodes reflect that more and some episodes you ask more questions. But I think in the parents one, we really nailed like really listening to each other and really bouncing off each other and getting a really equal thing in that. I think that was good. But yeah, I agree with you about the mental health one. I think that's the stuff that's most important with us. Like, like we don't really have like a grand plan. It's not like we sat down and wrote like this master plan for what we want this podcast to be. We just knew these are the things we want to talk about. These are the things that are important to us. These are the things that we think are important to the community. And it's all summed up in there. And I think it's just like a really lovely moment for our friendship as well, that we felt that we could do that together.
Yeah.
I think that was really special. Yeah.
Guys. Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me personally, the minute I knew that we were going to have a platform like this to share, as nervous as I was about it, it felt really important to stick with that honesty and that authenticity and that vulnerability. Like there's no point us being like, hi, yeah, this is us and this is our true selves. And then we record this episode about something so vulnerable, and then we're like pretending that everything's fine. So I think we always knew, like you say, we didn't have a grand plan. We had a rough idea of what types of topics we would want to cover in each episode, but we didn't, I think we always knew that subject matter needed to be addressed at some point. And I think we made a really good job of it. And I'm really, like, I do want everyone's feedback, but either way, I'm really proud of us, and it won't knock me. No matter what anyone ends up saying about it, I will always be proud of us for having the courage of our conviction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think that's something that I've learned from you in this as well, which I think is it's really, like, you set a really good example.
Doing that thing with my fingers.
Not with your fingers though. I set a hand example. Like, are my hands ever weird? Tell us. I don't think so.
Imagine if I
head, shoulders,
sat
knees,
with
and
my
toes.
hands near the whole of I'm just going to put them here.
You're
It's
not.
because I like to sit back. Sorry, I interrupted you.
You're not afraid to say when you think something we've done is good. And I am sometimes.
I have practiced that.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think you've practiced that a lot. And I think it's very good for women to listen to you do that, because we should be celebrating. Like, I remember on the bonus episode we did, and I said, oh, thank you. And you went, yeah, but we're putting good stuff out, Steph. And I was like, oh, yeah, we are.
You don't know how hard I have worked to practice doing that. And even when I do it, so I said something earlier about, but we nailed it or whatever. And even if as I said it, I was like I still internally, I still have I still feel very uncomfortable at times saying when I think something is good that I have done. But as you say, it's really important. And I know that there will be some people that think I'm really confident, and and there's probably some people that are like, she thinks she's nice, like that I'm maybe too confident or whatever that is, arrogant, I guess. But I know in myself, and the people who I know and love and respect feel the same way, that I know that's not true, and if anything, I should be more confident. I should be prouder of my achievements. But yeah, I have worked at it, and I really want to get like Pippa Grange. Can you imagine Pippa? Oh, if this ever makes it through to you. Because can you imagine? Like, because that's all about like fearless, right? And like that whole one of the best, just shout out another pod here, but one of the best podcast episodes I've ever listened to was Brené Brown interviewing Dr. Pippa Grange. Chef's kiss. Listen to that after you've listened to this.
Do you think they've recommended us?
For sure. Brené Brown's just like...
Brené Brown is
follower.
Yeah. But I think it's a nice point is that we're not coaching partners, obviously.
No, we've never coached together.
Maybe.
Never know what the future
We
holds.
found a little patch of grass in the...
In Waterloo Station.
Random. Like a greenhouse. Don't sit there.
Oh,
anyone.
it's a sweat box.
Yeah.
Do you find, this is going really off topic, but I find Waterloo Station quite romantic. Like, I romanticize it in my head. I think because some films are set there.
Love Actually, I feel it.
Man Up is set there, the Simon Pegg film. And I'm sure others and whatever, but it's like a meet cute. Like, there's always stuff. But then when I'm actually in it, I'm like, oh, there's too many people, and it's a sweat box. Anyway, that's very off topic.
It's grim. It is romantic for me because I lived right next to it when I moved to London, so it's like a deal for me. But no, what was I saying? Oh yeah, what's really nice about doing this together, and is that, and also like I'm a Geordie, so we have like Ant and Dec. I feel like you can choose which one you want to be. But I feel like what's really nice is that if you maybe have a feeling about how something's gone or maybe how you did or whatever, then I can pick you up. And then if I have a feeling about something, then you can, and we like balance each other out.
Yeah.
Like that, which I think is a really yeah, it's just really nice. And it's something to think about if you have got a coaching partner, if you're working with people around those things, how you can manage that relationship and those feelings together.
Absolutely. So basically, our key reflection is we think we're great. But if you think otherwise, feel free to let us know. Shall we do, because we did ask people for questions, and I feel like we should do at least a quick fire round, seeing as people have, thank you so much to people that ask questions, but seeing as people have bothered, one I can just do really quickly while you find them is Claire from, I can't remember where, asked us if we're going to have guests on the pod at any point. So we made a strategic decision for it to just be us two for this first season or first set of episodes, because we really wanted to establish our tone and our vibe and our banter, so that when we invite guests on, so the answer to that question is yes, when we invite guests on, they come into our world and they understand our vibe and our tone, rather than us changing every time we get someone different on. So yes, we will have guests on, and we will reveal in due course who they will be. Hopefully Pepper Grange.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We want to do a mix next season, don't we? Of some of us,
and what we would like to do is revisit some of the topics that we've discussed, and hear from people that are almost like best practice examples of those things.
Yeah. You know what I'm excited about, actually? I think we've recorded all of this in off season.
Yeah.
Whereas we're going to record the next one and I'm going to be...
You're going to have live examples.
I'm going to have so much to talk about. Yeah, you won't get a word in. The balance will be gone. Right. This came with two eyes, I mean 2 eyeballs at the end.
The emoji.
Yeah. So it's fishing. Abigail, I've never actually coached with you, so I can't say you.
Fishing?
Yeah, she's fishing for a compliment.
Oh.
Best coach you've worked with?
Best coach I've worked with is Sab Jamal, who is the head of football at Goals for Girls and West Ham Women Under-16s coach, I believe. And she is brilliant. One of the things that's really brilliant about her is she doesn't realise how brilliant she is. Gotta love that. But the reason I think she's brilliant is because she's that perfect combination that I always aimed for and never quite achieved, in my honest opinion, of her ability to deliver tactical and technical information and also be a really compassionate coach. She coaches predominantly girls from disadvantaged, like teenage girls from disadvantaged backgrounds in and around East London. And I obviously coached with her. And those girls are beautiful, but they got stuff going on. So they're not always like the easiest. And she just handles it brilliantly every single time. But she also delivers really high standard technical coaching. Shout out, Sab.
You've nailed it.
She'd be really, if she hears this, like we should clip it and send it to her, because I don't know if she's listening. But if she hears that, if she heard that, she'd be embarrassed by that. But again, that's one of the reasons I love her, because she's just so humble with it. But she's brilliant.
Mine says he's been listening to the pod, so it's a test. Mine is a coach called Matt Thomas, and first of all, he's an incredible male ally. He does a lot for the girls' game. He fought. I'll just say it. The borough that we live in funded a boys' district side, but not a girls' district side. In 2022, 2023, it was still there.
On the wave of the Euros victory.
Yeah, there we go. And Matt has gone above and beyond to make sure that there is a girls' district side, and completely runs it himself. And
shout out, Matt.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And I've gone down to support just like a couple of times, and the way he holds the space, the balance he gets between making players feel comfortable, but also making them know that they're there to kind of play and learn. The repeated things that he does, the things that he has in place, The way he runs the session, the way he talks to the players, his manner, how calm he is, his like one-to-one interventions. I just learned so much from watching him. And I suppose he had that balance as well, that really, really nice balance. And he gets it just right in terms of making it fun, but making it a really strong learning environment. So big shout out to Matt.
Shout out Matt and Sab.
Sab and Matt. Sab.
Did we have any other questions? You were the main owner of them.
Oh, we have some questions from another Matt.
Oh, hi, Matt.
Who says, okay, there's 2 questions, Ali. First question. What has been your best coaching moment to date? A time when you felt like you've nailed it or it gave you a great feeling of satisfaction?
It's when I lifted the trophy. No. As a Spurs fan, I did actually only ever lift one trophy. And it really pained me because it was with Chelsea.
I swear someone...
I have done Spurs a foul injustice there. My under 13s team won the double in the first season that I coached them. So I'm very sorry, girls. Absolute ballers. But I did, the Chelsea won a trophy while I was there as well for a brief moment in time. But neither of those have a patch on. When I was at the club, I won't name the club because I don't want to identify the player. I might have touched on this in the previous episode, actually, but I'll keep it brief. I was at a club and at halftime, one of my players started crying. And I was a bit like, because people don't just cry for no reason. So I kind of said to her, like, and she said, I don't want to play the second half. I was like, okay. So subbed her, game changed her. And I took her to, she played left back. So I took her behind our goal and I said to her, we're going to make this look like we're talking about your position and we're talking about the game. But I've just taken you away so we can have like a private conversation about how you are. And essentially we had a conversation. What she ended up describing were symptoms of depression. She would have only been about maybe like 14 at the time. I spoke to her parents afterwards and they were like, yeah, like we kind of knew that maybe that was an issue. But after that conversation that she like took her to the doctor and she started getting the help she needed. And that was like always, I remember people asking me, oh, what's one of your proudest moments in coaching? And I would always say, actually, it's that one. And then when we were in lockdown, I hadn't heard from her for years. And she contacted me, obviously years older now. And she was like, oh, I just want to say that I just wanted to thank you for that conversation we had that time. Like it really helped me. I'm doing like my PE A-level now and we had to write about a role model and I'm writing about you because of how much you helped me and all of us during that time. And I didn't do it knowing that was going to happen. I did it because it was the right thing to do. But sometimes you have conversations with people and you just know that you've had a positive impact. And I think that was one of them. And to me, that was almost, I know it sounds really worthy, but that was always the most important part of coaching to me, especially when coaching children, but when coaching adults as well, because everyone's got their shit that they're dealing with, regardless of their age. So yeah, that'd be my one. That wasn't brief at all. I was like, I'll keep it brief. And now I'll just take it on a trip down memory lane.
You just curse it every time you say that. That's nice, Ali.
Thanks.
Good example.
How about you?
I'm finding it hard. I think you're right. I think moments like that. I know in a previous episode I spoke about someone who didn't believe they could play in a game in any of the games and then came and like proved it to themselves.
Oh yeah,
season. That was awesome.
Yeah.
I was thinking. So at the end of each season, I don't know. I've said each. I've only done it for 2, but I've made my team like a program, and then I write obviously I'm obviously the first patron there. What can I say? I'm the front
It's all
cover,
about me.
front cover, back cover. I'm not, but I do write a little thing in it, and I was like, what did I write? And it's gonna sound really silly, but we have a player that has an inhaler, and then it was a minute before kickoff, and she realized she couldn't find her inhaler, and all of the team were around, and then it was really hot. They'd warmed up, they were knackered, they were a bit like down about the match, whatever. They weren't really in the zone. And I was just like, are we going to find this inhaler? And they went, yeah. And I went, go. Spread across the whole pitch. They each took like their section to try and find this inhaler for their teammate. That the inhaler was in her bag this whole time is irrelevant because and in that moment, I remember I know, and then we had to tell them. But I remember being like, oh, they've really got each other's backs here, when they need it. And it was just a really good example of that. So my proudest moments have come around some of those individual things where I feel like I've really nailed it. Or like there's a couple of players that have like come out to me or things like that where I'm like, okay, I'm doing a good job if they feel like they can do that. Or where I feel like we've built a team that is much bigger than what's on the pitch.
Yes.
It's everything around it. And we've got a group of people that just support and love each other. Which reminds me, I just said people, a big reflection, which you were like, Steph, this is weird. You call them your kids.
It's because you say my kids.
Yeah.
It's not that you, like, if you just said kids.
Yeah. I just sound
But you say my kids.
So really,
you don't have any kids.
I don't have any kids. I sound possessive.
It's not that you sound possessive. It's just that, like, sometimes you've said it at times where it's not immediately obvious that you're actually referring to your players, even though this is a coaching podcast. And if people don't know you, they might get a little bit confused as to who you're actually talking about.
Yeah. I don't have kids. I've got a little Pokemon Charmander that we like. And I don't have kids. And also, I actually try really hard not to say my team because I don't think it's my team, which is what made it even worse for me that I was saying my kids.
Oh, you can forgive yourself for that.
Yeah.
Though.
So if you could just insert my players where I've said my kids every
Thanks,
time.
everyone.
Maybe that should be my money thingy.
Maybe. I think just reflecting on what you and me have both just said, I guess that's a really important observation for coaches listening as well, is that no matter how many trophies or personal awards or whatever you may or may not win at any level in your coaching career, when it all comes down to it, it's about the connections that you make with people. And you can make the most wonderful connections and never win a tournament or a season or a league or whatever. So yeah, there's so much. I think a lot of coaches, even coaches at the elite level, often when you ask them that question, they reflect on the connections they made with people rather than, oh yeah, well, when we did the double or whatever, you know?
Yeah, and I don't think anyone looks back and is like, oh, in like November 98, you told me to pull a bit wider to start my run. And then I got an assist. Like that it was just game changing for my life. Yeah, no one's remembering that shit. They're remembering like how you made them feel.
Yeah.
So right, I'm trying not to reveal my passcode again.
Security.
Oh god. Right. Ollie. Stuff. I read it. Yeah. What do you like to listen to on the way to training? Music or talkie radio, etc., or nothing? Also from Matt, sorry.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Spotify, just songs. I like singing in my car and stuff. I don't like listening to, I don't like podcasts. I don't like listening to talking. I like listening to music.
But did you have like a playlist or did you just do random?
Yeah, I had a playlist called Drive.
No.
And it was for my drive.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a really boring, obvious answer, but that's me. How about you?
I am.
But it wasn't like Eye of the Tiger stuff. It was just like whatever.
Oh, it's a cover.
What's like love? It's the thrill of the fight. Oh, just blooming bumped in. But I actually nearly drove into Emma Hayes once. Can I just? Like, if anyone, me. Like, if anyone's been to Cobham, the women's car park, it's really tight, like point of entry and exit. And you have to, like, there are speed humps because you really have to go slowly. And in my first season there, she was like pulling out as I was coming along. And even though we were both going really slowly, it's just like, and then I just looked up and was like, oh shit, that's Emma Hayes. Like, don't scratch her car, don't scratch her car, don't scratch her car. It was fine. Then she gave me a little wave and I was like, oh my God. Because like I was literally brand new there. I was like, it's just waved at me.
2 hands on the wheel.
Yeah, and then I was like, anyway, back to my R&B. Yeah, no, I don't listen. What I'm trying to say is I don't have like a sort of, come on, get me in the coaching zone. I just listen to the music that I like to listen to.
Yeah, I am just me in general. Actually, if I'm really anxious, I'll listen to like podcasts with familiar voices, just to feel like a bit of familiarity around me. But so if I was really anxious on the way to training, I would probably do that or to matches. But more often than not, I listen to music, and yeah, it's just whatever playlist I've got at the time. We do like Ray. That's the same stroke.
We do like Ray.
And also, right, okay.
Shout out Ray, please do our jingle for the next season. Thanks.
Yeah, Ray, we've got to the end of the first season. You haven't even responded to a jingle request. It's like
Steph slid in the DM.
It's rude.
Steph slid in the DMs of Ray.
And I didn't even tell Ali what I wrote. Should I see what I wrote? Maybe you should wrap this up and I'll tell you later.
Yeah, I should probably wrap it up. We can have that conversation offline. I don't know if we had any other questions, but we should probably wrap it up now because but if we did, or if we get them after we've recorded and we realise that we had some, we will respond to them online. But thank you to Claire and Abby and Matt. Is that everyone?
That's everyone.
That's everyone that we answered. Yeah. Thank you for your questions. Those are the sort of riveting answers you get from us. So if you were thinking, oh, I don't know if this question's serious or highbrow enough, doesn't need to be.
We'll give... that's my other reflection. Sorry. When we answered how to clean your boots,
oh my God.
I missed... I was going to say we will give as strong an answer for as dull a topic as we will for as interesting a topic. Like, we don't discriminate. But your boots, I've missed a really vital thing that is really common practice. Do not put them under the radiator, on the radiator, anywhere near the radiator.
Rookie error.
Because they crack. Okay?
Thank you and good night.
To end the six. I'll just lick the mic. Don't just lick the mic. It's like the mic, right?
Oh.
I know.
That's my worst nightmare.
Nightmare. Sorry.
She's licked the mic.
How do you clean your tongue?
Swipe it on your...
I've just licked this to try and get it off. Can you just stop the recording?
Bye guys, thanks for being... I feel like we need to do a send off because it's the last one for who knows how long.
Yeah.
Bye. It's a button. I can never... Oh, it's just rubbing there. Oh, stop recording.